that it is going to be addressed, and he is on the way to addressing that. I personally would have preferred a little bit action a little bit sooner, because I too was consumed with, if you will, the grocery aisle indicator of inflation. So after this, Mr. Speaker, I look forward to expanding on these profound thoughts, which I know my honourable colleagues will wait in their seats to hear what I have to say after question period. Thank you.
I want to thank the member for Scarborough-Guildwood. You have 5 minutes when you return after proceedings. Statements by members. The honourable member for Richmond Centre.
Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to wish all of my colleagues, staff, my constituents in Richmond Centre, and Asian communities across Canada a happy Lunar New Year. Today is the first day of the lunar calendar, and we're entering the Year of the Tiger, a symbol of strength and bravery. Canadians have always demonstrated resilience and the ability to come together when needed the most. Although celebrations may continue to look different this year, I hope everyone has the opportunity to exchange warm wishes with friends, families, and loved ones. With the courage of the tiger, let us reflect on the years we've had and remain strong as we finish this fight against COVID-19. Let us look forward to a brighter and better future, and I wish everyone celebrating a joyful Lunar New Year filled with prosperity, success, and above all, good health. Happy Lunar New Year, Bonne année lunaire, Chak Mang Nam Moi, San Nian Fai Lo, Gong Xi Fa Cai. Thank you.
The honourable member for Charleswood, St. James, Assiniboia.
Mr. Speaker, over the past 2 years, Canadians have endured some of the most difficult times in a generation, while charities from across this great country have stepped up to help families in need by providing much-needed services. They too are struggling to help provide help that is so desperately needed. Charities have not been receiving the contributions that they need to do their work, as their traditional donors simply cannot afford to support them the way they have in the past. As members of this House, we can all work together to address this crucial issue through common sense and compassionate decision-making. The bottom line is, when charities are hurting, people are hurting, Mr. Speaker. That's why I rise today hoping to inspire all members to lend a helping hand to charities across Canada through thoughtful amendments to the Income Tax Act that incentivize charitable giving so that these organizations can access the funding they desperately need in order to help protect our country's most vulnerable citizens.
The honourable member for Lac Saint Louis.
This past December, Senneville, a historic municipality on the western shores of the island of Montreal, lost a true stalwart, a leader whose name was synonymous with the town's deep sense of civic engagement and commitment to quality of life. George McLeish was Senneville's longest-serving mayor, occupying the office from 1995 to 2013, interrupted only when island suburbs were briefly merged into the city of Montreal. George was a dynamic political presence whose energy and love of his community were the defining qualities of his leadership. As a mayor, he focused on maintaining the town's character while favoring a practical approach to addressing change in the best interests of residents. I ask members to join me in offering our sincerest condolences to George's wife, Barbara, and children, Kristen, Darcy, and Adam.
L'honorable député d'Abitibi.
The honourable member for Abitibi Bay James Nunavik EU. Mr. Speaker, it's with great sadness that I learned of the death of a friend and an important man from Abitibi, the former member of the National Assembly, Jean-Paul Bordelot. He was elected for the Parti Québécois in the riding of Abitibi-Est in 1976 and then re-elected in 1981. During his years as parliamentarian, Mr. Bordelot held positions as parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Labour and Income Security, and later to the Minister of Energy and Resources. He also chaired the Committee on Labour and the Economy in 1985. After retiring from political life, Mr. Bordelot did not rest. He held many positions. He was employed in the Evaluation Department of the City of Val-d'Or. He was a political attaché to the Member of Parliament for Abitibi-Esque, André Pelletier, a member of the Council of Elders and the Val d'Or Historical Society, and many others. On behalf of the Bloc Québécois and myself, I offer my sincere condolences to his wife and 2 children. Thank you.
L'honorable député de Bourassa.
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Mr. Speaker, this year, at the beginning of February, the Canadian government has chosen the theme February and Forever, celebrating Black history today and every day.
Honorable député.
I just want to interrupt the Honourable Member. Does he have a proper headset? I'm going to continue unless he has the headset handy.
On va faire sûr qu'on entend tout ce que...
We want to make sure that we can hear everything that the Honourable Member has to say. The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This year, for the month of February, I'm just going to interrupt the Honourable Member once more. I'm actually going to move on to the next person on the list, and I want to give him the time to make sure that his headset is working properly, okay? I'll come back to him in just a couple of minutes. The Honourable Member for Medicine Hat.
The Honourable Member for Medicine Hat, Carson Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are frustrated and angry with this government's failed pandemic response. They have had enough government overreach, mandates, and infringements on their rights and freedoms. They are losing hope, have lost trust in this government, and are tired of the Liberal refusal to provide a recovery plan. The truckers and the peaceful Freedom Convoy has given voice to millions of Canadians who want their country back, who want their lives back, and who want their rights and freedoms preserved. These truckers and those who support their message are the working class Canadians who have kept our shelves stocked and the economy rolling. They, like all Canadians, deserve to be respected and treated fairly. They want to be heard. However, according to the Prime Minister, anyone who opposes the loss of freedoms and rights is a hate group. Enough. Enough of ineffective lockdowns, restrictions, and mandates. Enough smearing of alienated Canadians. Enough of the ineffective policies and rules. Enough division. Prime Minister, you are on notice. Stop the division, start listening to Canadians, and find solutions, or find a new line of work.
The Honourable Member for Whitby.
Mr. Speaker, as I regularly check in with constituents across Whitby, I've heard time and time again that home ownership continues to be less attainable and affordable housing is increasingly difficult to find. That is why I was encouraged to see the Prime Minister appoint Canada's first ever Minister of Housing, who I had the pleasure of joining just 2 weeks ago to announce $10.3 million in funding for Durham Region. This investment is part of our government's Rapid Housing Initiative and will support the rapid creation of 42 new affordable housing units and specifically will support the expansion of Otters Creek Housing Cooperative in Whitby. This will have a meaningful impact on lifting some of our most vulnerable citizens out of housing need, including seniors, individuals with developmental disabilities, and those living with mental illness and addictions. Canadians deserve a safe and affordable place to call home, Mr. Speaker, and I know that work is making an impact across Canada with investments like this in my community.
L'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Mr. Speaker, can you hear me clearly this time? Very good. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This year, for the month of February, the Canadian government has chosen the theme February and Forever, celebrating Black history today and every day. Celebrations will be held all across the country. In my riding of Bourassa, we're dedicating these events to the memory of Dawn Harley Fils-Aimé, who passed away on January 11th. Dawn made an important contribution as a teacher, musician, and co-organizer of Black History Month. He used his many talents to serve young people. In June 2019, I had the honor of awarding him the Bourassa Member of Parliament Medal to celebrate his contribution. Today, I want to honor the memory of this exceptional man and offer my sincere sympathies to his family and to the residents of North Montreal who miss him deeply. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, representing Richmond Hill has given me the privilege to learn about different cultures, join in their celebration, and most notably enjoy a lot of delicious foods. I'm delighted to rise today to acknowledge the beautiful celebration of Lunar New Year that's taking place today, February 1st, as many Canadians with roots in a variety of Asian culture, such as those with Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, and many more backgrounds, will mark the start of their calendar year. My riding is home to many of these vibrant communities, a majority of whom will also be observing the beginning of the year of the Tiger. This is a year that signals bravery, courage, and confidence, the characteristics that many of us had to demonstrate as we cope with the pandemic. Many celebrations may be virtual this year, but I will surely be attending a few online and enjoying some traditional dumpling in between. Gong hei fa choi, gong si fa chai, New Hien Koi Lo. Happy Lunar New Year, everyone.
The honourable member for Barrie-Innisfil.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to pay tribute to Rob Warman, who passed away January 15th. Originally from Fredericton, New Brunswick, Rob joined the RCMP in 1951 out of high school and was posted to Newfoundland. Later, he would fondly share stories of chasing rum runners from St. Pierre and Miquelon. In 1954, Rob joined the RCAF Service Police, later the MPs, beginning an association that would last over 60 years. Never one to slow down, Rob joined the Law and Security program as a professor at Georgian College. He was a city builder, serving on Barrie City Council for 21 years, volunteering for many organizations, including the Royal Canadian Legion, and was instrumental in Barrie becoming a twin city of Zweibrücken, Germany. Rob returned to his Air Force roots, proudly serving as honorary colonel of 16 Wing at Base Borden from 2006 to 2010. On behalf of everyone in Barrie-Innisfil who knew and loved Rob, I want to extend my sincere condolences to his wife Alice of 60 years, his children, who he often said haven't turned out half bad, and 5 grandchildren. Per ardua ad astra, Rob. Rest easy, our friend.
Bravo. L'honorable député de...
The honourable member for Sherbrooke. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week is National Suicide Prevention Week in Quebec.
To all the families and loved ones of those we have lost to suicide, and to those who have struggled and have seen people struggle with suicidal thoughts.
I want all Canadians to know that if they're struggling, or if they know someone who's struggling, they should seek help. Talk about it. No one should feel ashamed to ask for help. In fact, with this year's theme, Talking About Suicide Saves Lives, the goal is to encourage people to use the digital space to share what they're thinking and experiencing. We all have an important role to play. Offering support and a listening ear, free of judgment, can make all the difference for someone who's suffering. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Kootenay, Columbia.
Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal recipient and longtime Kootenay resident Carmen Purdy passed away on November 24th, 2021. At the age of 82. He will be missed. Carmen was a fierce supporter for the wildlife management and the Kootenay way of life. He founded and was co-chair of the Kootenay Wildlife Heritage Fund, whose mission was to conserve wildlife through land acquisition and winter feeding. He also served on the board of the Nature Trust of British Columbia and the Agricultural Land Commission. His knowledge on the subject of wildlife was unparalleled in Kootenay, Columbia. He is blessed to have been the beneficiary of his passionate commitment to this work. I am grateful for his many contributions both to our communities and the wildlife that surround them. Today, we celebrate the life of Carmen Purdy, and on behalf of the Government of Canada and the constituents of Kootenay, Columbia, I offer my sincere condolences to his wife, Carol, through their 3 children and his many friends. Thank you.
The honourable member for Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke.
Mr. Speaker, thousands of people have come to their parliament and demand to be heard. They have come in defense of their fellow Canadians who are being denied their livelihoods by this Prime Minister. They have questions and concerns that have been mocked instead of addressed. Canadians have had enough. Enough of the fear and division. Enough of the wild and reckless spending by a government that just doesn't care. The country's IOU has gone from the billions to $1 trillion. The Prime Minister's arbitrary mandates are fanning the flames of inflation. So the truckers and supporters are here on Parliament Hill to take a stand. All this misery and the Prime Minister who donned blackface and groped a reporter, called those who disagree with him racists and misogynists. He and this government must end their mandates and understand that a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian.
The honourable member for Scarborough Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today is the 9th annual World Hijab Day. It is a day to encourage women of all religions and backgrounds to wear and experience the hijab for a day and learn more about it. Everyone's choice is different. I didn't grow up wearing the hijab. I began wearing it after a battle with cancer, and my personal reflections during that process brought me closer to my faith. The hijab doesn't change who I am or how I represent my constituents. A hijab doesn't change the way a doctor cares for her patients or a teacher cares for her students. It was my choice. I stand in solidarity with all that chose to wear it or chose not to. I encourage my colleagues to wear a hijab for a day. And today, let us stand with all those that have had to face losing their jobs or have been subjected to Islamophobia because the hijab was their choice. Thank you.
The honourable member for Edmonton Griesbach.
Mr. Speaker, every February, people from across Turtle Island participate in Black History Month, a time to recognize and honor the history and legacy of Black Canadians. But it is also a time for us to unite and recommit to fighting against anti-Black racism in this place and across Canada. Black Canadians continue to face overt barriers and life-threatening discrimination, particularly by the police. Just recently, Moses Erherhi, a Black Canadian, died following an interaction with York Police on January 21st, just weeks ago. Erherhi's family says since the shooting, they've been kept almost entirely in the dark. No one should have to lose their life to police without an answer. We remember you, Moses. This Black History Month, let us recognize the great progress we have made, but also the tremendous work that remains. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de Drummond.
The honourable member for Drummond. Mr. Speaker, today we begin Black History Month with the well-chosen theme, Honoring the Past, Inspiring the Future. So this is a perfect opportunity to honor the past by sharing and acknowledging the invaluable contribution Black communities have made to Quebec's history and culture, as well as its economic and political and social life. It's always an opportunity to look to the future and to imagine a more egalitarian, united, and prejudice-free Quebec. But, of course, it's also an opportunity to celebrate. That's why I invite all Quebecers to consult the extensive Black History Month programming online. Conferences and panels will be held throughout the month of February, culminating in the Dynasty Gala on March 5th. I also invite everyone to find out about the various local initiatives marking Black History Month throughout Quebec, from Gatineau to the Lower St. Lawrence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Peterborough-Kawartha.
Bloomberg reports Canada has the second most inflated housing bubble in the world. Listen to this letter from a Peterborough-Kawartha constituent. Dear MP Ferrari, my 26-year-old son and his partner put in an offer on a house today. A 40-year-old, 1,200-square-foot bungalow, no appliances, on a tiny lot and no air conditioning. It was listed for $599,000. My son offered $702,000 with no conditions. There were 18 offers, and it sold for $830,000. My son has been pre-approved for $700,000, and it's not enough. He and his partner have great jobs, and I have even co-signed. What is the incentive for our children to get educated and get a job when your wage can't meet the demand of society? People are losing hope of ever having a home. This economic crisis is a mental health crisis. We need federal leadership, not just inflation.
The honourable member for London West.
February 1st marks the beginning of Black History Month in Canada, and as the first Black woman elected as the Member of Parliament for the riding of London West, I rise today to encourage everyone to learn about, celebrate, and acknowledge the contributions that Black communities in Canada have and continue to make. I also want to highlight the London Black History Coordinating Committee that works tirelessly every year to increase awareness of Black History Month for London. This year, as they mark their 20th anniversary, the theme, Respecting the Past, Embracing the Present, Impacting the Future, speaks to so much progress made in all the work that remains. Mr. Speaker, as I rise in this House, I'm always reminded that I stand on the shoulders of many giants like the Honorable Jean Augustin, who broke the glass ceiling so that so many women who look like me can take a seat in this House and fight for racial equity and a better, fairer, and more inclusive country. This month and every day, I urge this House to fight racism, discrimination that Black Canadians continue to face, and work to create a Canada where no one is left behind. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions. Question orale. L'honorable député de Louis.
The honourable member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Mr. Speaker, all Canadian families are suffering from the constant increase in the cost of living. It's been 30 years since it was so bad. And in his latest report, the parliamentary budget officer didn't mince words. He said that the government's plan to spend $100 billion does exactly the wrong thing. That spending won't help the economy. Instead, it will make inflation rise further. Why isn't this government listening to the PBO? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives keep denigrating the Canadian economy. So then let me seize this opportunity to give you good news. Today, Statistics Canada published new data. The data shows that our GDP went up by 0.6% in November. That means that before the arrival of Omicron, our economy had completely recovered from the COVID recession. I would like to congratulate Canadians. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Mr. Speaker, could the Deputy Prime Minister come with me after question periods, go to a mall or a grocery store right here in Gatineau, and go tell people that are paying 8% more at the grocery store, maybe she wants to tell them the GDP has just gone up by 0.6%. Is that what she wants to tell them? Mr. Speaker, will the Deputy Prime Minister say if this government is going to attack inflation, yes or no? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, once again, the Conservatives are concentrating on their own partisan interests. And we can see why. And they are denigrating the Conservative economy. The reality is that Canada's economic potential is just growing. The IMF recently projected that Canada will have the second highest growth rate of countries in the G7. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Mr. Speaker, I would ask the Deputy Prime Minister once again to come with me to the IGA in Gatineau. And she can say, oh, Madame Tremblay, don't worry about groceries. The IMF says everything's going great in Canada. But that doesn't change things for Madame Tremblay, Mr. Speaker. Just like everyone else in Canada, she's paying more for groceries. Why does the Deputy Prime Minister have this kind of contempt for Canadians who are paying for liberal inflation? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I would like to say for my dear and honourable colleague that it is not only Madame Tremblay who is going shopping. It is also Madame Freeland who goes shopping every week for her family. But for our government, facts and data are important. And it's important to underscore that inflation in Canada is underneath the G7 average. It is beneath the G20 average and the OECD average.
Rose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, the minister should know that gross domestic product is calculated including government expenditures. This government has put so much debt into Canadians, and what have we seen happen? The cost of living increase. That's right. This cost of living increase is affecting regular Canadians. Certainly somebody with a $270,000 a year salary should not be trying to equivocate with somebody who cannot buy $60 a bag groceries. Will the minister apologize for trying to make that comparison?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the people who should be apologizing to Canadians are the Conservatives. Because before Christmas, just as the Omicron wave was rising, it was the Conservatives who voted against Bill C-2. And it is thanks to Bill C-2 and the lockdown provisions in Bill C-2 that we are today able to pay those small businesses, those grocery stores, restaurants that are suffering under lockdown restrictions, that we are able to support them. Thank goodness the Conservatives failed before Christmas, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
2 years into the pandemic, Canadians don't want to be hearing about lockdown provisions.
That's right.
They want a federal government that is taking a leadership role in fixing Canada's broken healthcare system and getting people back to work, getting their freedom back. The Liberals are so out of touch with the average Canadians. People just want to work. They want to keep people safe. They want to keep people healthy. And dismissing their concerns with laughter across the way is not going to heal the divisions in this country. It's not going to make us stronger. Will the minister apologize for her statements, take the temperature down, and tell us how she's going to fix the rising cost of living in Canada?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, if there's anyone in this House who needs to apologize to Canadians, it is the Conservatives who voted against C-2 and those provisions that are supporting so many businesses and people. And you know what? When it comes to jobs, our government understood from the very beginning that having a job is the foundation of the economic well-being of the vast majority of Canadians. That's why we focused on getting the jobs back. And that is why I am so pleased that we have recovered 108% of the jobs lost to the COVID recession.
L'honorable député de Belleuil-Chambly.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, although it's a little late, I would like to wish you and all of our colleagues Happy New Year. In the meantime, we see that Ottawa and Gatineau are partially paralyzed. Protesting is okay, is good, but occupying isn't. It is time for people to learn that the real truckers' associations are in favor of vaccination. Can the government tell me whether the Prime Minister has considered coming out and meeting with the real spokespeople of the truckers industry, those who support vaccination, the Honourable Minister of Transport?
Speaker, I want to thank my honourable colleague for his question, and I'm glad he agrees that vaccination is our best tool out of this pandemic. Our government has consistently been meeting with stakeholders, including representatives of the trucking industry. This Monday, yesterday, my colleagues and I held a national summit on supply chain that included voices from the trucking industry. Mr. Speaker, we'll continue to engage with our stakeholders. We'll hear all points of view, including those who disagree with us, because we want to do what's best for Canada and Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de Belleuil-Chambly.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. That's very interesting, but it has nothing to do with my question. The leader of a country has a role to play. Criticizing is fine, but finding solutions is his responsibility. We cannot tolerate having a demonstration turn into an occupation. Can the Prime Minister guarantee to this House, or can the Deputy Prime Minister assure the House that the authorities will ensure that Parliament Hill is open to traffic, or will they simply continue scolding people without doing anything that has teeth? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. I'd like to thank my colleague for the question. And I'd also like to wish the leader of the Bloc Québécois Happy New Year. I spoke earlier about Bill C-2. And I would like to thank members of the Bloc Québécois for supporting that bill, which is so important for SMEs and people. I fully agree with the leader of the Bloc Québécois. It is important for all of us to be able to do our work as members of this House. We must support the authorities of the city.
Mr. Speaker, there are hundreds of truckers who are stuck at the Alberta border between Montana and Alberta because of a convoy of anti-vaccine mandate protesters. I spoke with one of the truckers, Kuldeep Singh. He described the situation: no food, no water, no provision for washrooms. They are stuck and they want to get home. What is the Prime Minister going to do to help these truckers get back home?
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my honourable colleague for his question, and I've been following the situation at the Coutts border of entry. We agree with him. There are truckers who are prevented from doing their jobs, from delivering goods for Canadians, and we ask that this blockade ends so those individuals, those truck drivers who are doing their job are able to get home, deliver the goods for Canadians, and continue their job.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
According to a recent report, Mr. Speaker, it is harder and harder for young families. In fact, it's impossible for young families to buy their own home. This just underscores what we already knew. What will the Prime Minister do to fix this situation so that young families can buy their own home in the community where they want to grow?
Housing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chaque Canadien mérite un chez soi sûr.
Every Canadian deserves a safe and affordable home.
We're investing more than ever to eliminate chronic homelessness from Canada. And yes, we're also enabling more Canadians than ever before to access their dream of home ownership through the first-time homebuyer incentive. We also seek to bring in enhancements to the first-time homebuyer incentive and also our new rent-to-own program to turn more Canadians who are renting homes to become homeowners. Merci beaucoup.
L'honorable député de Mégantic-l'Érable.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Qu'on se bat contre une pandémie mondiale, en plus des effets sur notre santé, sur nos vies quotidiennes, on subit les impacts sur notre portefeuille. Le coût de la vie explose, tout coûte plus cher. Depuis un an, ça continue de monter. L'épicerie, tout coûte plus cher, Monsieur le Président. Les pères, les mères se demandent quoi choisir pour ne pas se faire refuser les paiements à la caisse.
Excuse, je vais interrompre une seconde. Nous avons un problème avec l'interprétation.
The interpreter apologizes. The microphone was off. Can you now hear the interpretation in English? I will ask the honourable member to start over. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we've been fighting a global pandemic for nearly 2 years. In addition to the effects on our health and on our daily lives, we are feeling impacts on our wallet. The cost of living is going up. Everything is more expensive. Groceries are increasingly expensive. Fathers and mothers are wondering what to choose at the grocery store so that their credit card isn't turned down at the cash. This is unacceptable. How far are the Liberals willing to go to make Canadians poorer? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, unlike the Conservatives, Canadians understand that inflation is a global phenomenon. Here is some data to show that. The latest inflation rate in Canada was 4.8%. In the US, 7%. In Germany, 5.3%. In the UK, 5.4%. The OECD average is 5.8%. The G7, 5.3%. G20, 5.8%, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable. Mr. Speaker, the mother of a two-child family who earns $40,000 a year with a 4.8% inflation rate is going to actually be paying $10 more per week for a $200 grocery bill. So if we look at it, that actually means that over the course of a year, an entire paycheck is being used up for additional grocery costs. Comparing the situation with other countries in the world doesn't give a single cent more to this kind of person who's dealing with a horrible situation like this. When will this government stop making Canadians poorer? The Honourable Minister.
En sourdine, you're on mute. Honourable Minister, or we can't hear you. Oh,
can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Maybe just talk a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Mr. Speaker, it is exactly why our government acted since we were elected in 2015, bringing forward the Canada Child Benefit, which helps 9 out of 10 families. In fact, it's helped lift 435,000 children out of poverty. And let me remind this House that the Conservatives voted against this measure. We know that we need to help families with the high cost of living. The Canada Child Benefit, affordable daycare, we're making important strides, and we're going to keep doing that for families.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, how can someone get up in this House and ignore the problems that are facing parents these days? Gas prices are going up by 30%, inflation 4.8%, and grocery inflation is 8%. I was actually generous earlier. I cut the increase in their bills in half, but actually they're seeing 8% inflation. And meanwhile, what are we hearing from the Liberals? Well, they're making comparisons with other countries. They're talking about measures that are no longer helping families. When will they stop making Canadian families poorer, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, how can someone honestly get up in this House? That's a question the Conservatives should be asking themselves. Before Christmas, the Conservatives voted against C2. And it is only thanks to Bill C2 it is only thanks to the fact that our government looks to the future that today we are supporting businesses and people. Really, Mr. Speaker.
And Rita Lakes.
Well, Speaker, Canadians from coast to coast are feeling the pinch. For years, they've worked hard, made tough choices to save up, but they seem to find themselves falling further behind. They can't even afford to put nutritious food on the table, put gas in their car, or even afford to heat their home. Their hard work isn't paying off under these Liberals, with skyrocketing inflation as a result of their out-of-control spending. And so while these Liberals offer every excuse under the sun, what we're here today is to find out from the Prime Minister, from his Finance Minister, will they finally get their out-of-control spending under control so Canadians can afford to live again?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when you don't have the facts to rely on, you lean on false narratives, and that is all we have been hearing today. So let me tell the truth about what's happening in the Canadian economy. Our GDP in the third quarter was 5.4%, higher than the US, the UK, and Japan, and the November numbers show we have now fully recovered the GDP to pre-COVID levels. Jobs, 108% ahead of where they were before COVID. Moody's and S&P have both reaffirmed Canada's AAA rating.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
Well, we won't let talking points get in the way of an answer from the minister, because we know that inflation is at a 30-year high. We know that housing prices have gone up by 80% under this government, and we know that Canadians can't afford the price at the pump, and we know that they're taking less home every month with the payroll tax increase from this finance minister and these Liberals. So they, again, offer all kinds of excuses, and they want to talk about what things cost in other places, but from Victoria, BC to Victoria by the Sea, Prince Edward Island, things are more expensive under these Liberals. So will they finally admit that it's just inflation, apologize to Canadians, and stop the out-of-control spending?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, facts are facts. Facts are not a talking point. So let me underscore that the data released by StatsCan today shows that in November, our GDP grew by 0.6%. That's the 6th consecutive month of growth. And this is a real milestone because it shows that our GDP has now exceeded where it was before the pandemic, the deepest recession since the Great Depression. I'd like to congratulate Canadians for their resilience, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
Well, while the minister is handing out self-congratulations, I want to let her know that on behalf of Canadians, they can't afford the 80% increase in home prices. They can't afford the 30-year increase in inflation that we've seen under this government as a direct result of their policies. They're spending all this money and they're still underfunding the housing and homelessness supports in Ontario by almost $500 million a year. So the finance minister is again offering all kinds of information. I'm sure she won't even get up to answer the question herself, but will they finally just admit that they're overspending and get their out-of-control spending under control for Canadians?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's really interesting today to hear the Conservatives criticizing government spending because it was just a few months ago we were on the campaign trail and they proposed spending in their platform when they finally got around to releasing it in this fiscal year that was higher than what we proposed. They proposed a $168 billion deficit, more than $10 billion above ours. So will the party of flip-flops let Canadians know what they really stand for today?
L'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Thérèse de Blainville. Mr. Speaker, last year, there was a backlog of 300,000 EI applications, 300,000 workers who lost income due to the federal government, some for more than 3 months. And the cases keep piling up. Imagine that, 3 months without an income. Think of the sacrifice that represents. It's a betrayal toward workers who have been paying into EI all their lives. The federal government promised it would help them if they were going through a hard time. What is the minister doing to end these delays? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to start by saying that this is an issue we take extremely seriously. It is very important that everyone who carries out an application receives the appropriate benefits. We know that's important. EI is there for Canadians when they need help. We have hired more civil servants in order to respond to the increase in applications, and we will continue to increase our internal resources to ensure that everyone who makes an application will get the appropriate benefits. The Honourable Member for Thérèse de Blainville. Mr. Speaker, the Minister has hired staff, but not to deal with the backlog. She hired inspectors for potential fraud cases. That will help for 10,000 files, but it will not help all the other people who are waiting. Mr. Speaker, right now in Canada, a G7 country, there are workers who haven't had an income for 3 months and who are not able to feed their families due to administrative mistakes. These workers are desperately waiting to be prioritized. When will they receive their benefits? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to thank my colleague for raising this important issue. I appreciate it greatly. And as I mentioned, we have not only hired fraud inspectors. That, of course, is important, but we have also hired additional employees. Hired because there has been an increased demand due to closings caused by Omicron. I will be working closely with her and all members in this House in order to ensure that this government will be able to respond to Canadians' applications. That is very important. The Honourable Member for Thérèse de Blainville. Mr. Speaker, behind service standards there are real people. People who can't pay their rent because their EI payments are not coming in. People who are waiting and who don't know when it's all going to end, and if they can make it that long. People who don't have food to put on the table. These people are not at all impressed by service standard statistics. They want the federal government to take care of them. When will the minister get rid of this backlog? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as I said to my honourable colleague last week when we spoke about this issue, I understand that each application represents a real person, a real family that needs help. And that is why, for me, it is one of my priorities to resolve this issue. We also know that there is an increase in applications due to the Omicron closures. Nonetheless, we are bringing in more resources in order to ensure that each Canadian who has made an application, the Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haut-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Russians are ready to invade Ukraine. They have moved more than 100,000 troops near the border. They have also sent blood reserves to their field hospitals. They are expecting considerable casualties. Ukraine is asking Canada to send defensive weapons, but the Prime Minister has turned down their request. As evidence of the imminent danger, Canadian troops have been moved for their safety. Can this Prime Minister show some courage and finally help Ukraine by sending defensive weapons? The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. Now, when it comes to ensuring that there is not another Ukrainian invasion, an invasion by Russia in Ukraine, we need to show trust in diplomacy and dissuasion. Diplomatically, yesterday I spoke to Denmark, Holland, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. We will be working closely with our allies in order to conserve the unity of the alliance, and we also believe in the unifier operation. My colleagues in Brussels as we speak. The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haut-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, Ukraine will probably become the theater of a large conventional ground war. We have seen military reinforcements by the Russians in Belarus, in Russia, in the Donbass, and in Crimea. Russia's threats towards Ukraine have been going on for some time, and the government has had months to prepare a military assistance plan for our friends in Ukraine. Why doesn't the Prime Minister understand that Russia is not interested in a diplomatic solution? Why doesn't it send clear assistance to our Ukrainian friends? The Honourable Minister. All the members of NATO are unanimous at the moment. We need to go ahead through diplomatic channels. And there are 3 channels in place. The Americans talking to the Russians, NATO talking to the Russians, and finally, this is the way to ensure that there is a decrease in tensions. The HoC is also holding diplomatic talks. It is time for our colleagues to understand that with the unifier operation and others, we will continue to work on the situation.
33 million. 33 million. That's the number of Canadians who had their mobility data secretly tracked by the Public Health Agency of Canada without their consent. This unprecedented level of surveillance on our citizens came to light when the Liberals not only admitted that they did it, but planned on continued spying on Canadians for another 5 years. Protecting the privacy of Canadians is the foundation of our freedoms, and sadly, under these Liberals, the foundations of our democracy are crumbling when this type of massive overreach happens. My question is a simple one. Who authorized the secret spying on Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je suis tout à fait d'accord avec mon collègue. Il fait...
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I agree with my colleague. We need to protect people's privacy. And I believe my colleague also believes that we need to protect people's health and safety. And we are doing that together. We are working with the Privacy Commissioner to ensure that the methods used are appropriate when it comes to ensuring that the data used is anonymized and is being used to protect people's health and safety as well as their privacy.
Barry Innisfil.
Instead of being focused on normalizing lockdowns, maybe the Liberals should have been focused on keeping our economy open. When you start connecting the dots, you see a pattern of massive overreach by these Liberals. They tried to seize control of Parliament at the beginning of the pandemic to completely control spending and taxing. They got caught secretly collecting banking data and attempted to limit speech and what Canadians can see on the internet. And now this. This pattern of control is only seen in countries that many Canadians have fled from. How could anyone think that secretly gathering this data without the consent of Canadians was a good idea?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. J'ai déjà répondu à la question et je remercie le...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've already answered the question, and I'd like to thank him for it. Not only do we do things well in our country in terms of keeping the trust of Canadians and reassuring and protecting our economy and protecting people. For example, in Canada, we have an economy that is clearly superior to those in other countries elsewhere who have also experienced COVID. But I'd also like to add, because we work together with science, we have the mortality rate that is the lowest in the G7.
For Skeena Bulkley Valley.
Mr. Speaker, in 2020, when thousands of Canadians were out thousands of dollars for canceled flights, the minister told us there was nothing he could do to get them refunds. He told us the Canadian Transportation Agency was, quote, an independent arm's-length body. Now we have documents showing the government wasn't just talking to the CTA, but actively convincing them to let airlines withhold refunds. Why were senior government officials lobbying the CTA to protect airlines' bottom lines instead of standing up for Canadians?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank my colleague for reminding us and reminding all Canadians that our government was there to help Canadians with their refunds. Our government was there to help airlines who were struggling with COVID for support to save jobs and to save the skills that we need and to save our economy. So I want to thank him for that reminder, because our government will always be there helping Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, that sounded to me like a reminder that the Liberals are here for big business, not for Canadians. And I can give you another example. The Liberals keep saying that they understand that this pandemic is not over in Canada until it is over everywhere. But they are dragging their feet on the TRIPS waiver. They've refused to add COVID-19 medicines to the Canada Access to Medicines regime, and their promises to COVAX are useless. Will the Prime Minister finally take the action necessary to ensure vaccine equity around the world?
The Honourable Minister for Small Business.
Excusez-moi. Mr. Speaker, our government will always be and have always been a strong advocate for vaccine equity. Canada supports a multilateral approach on intellectual property, specifically for COVID-19 vaccines. We've been working hard with our colleagues around the WTO table right from the very beginning. And through our leadership at the Ottawa Group, we continue to convene these conversations, important conversations, so that we can ensure that everyone gets vaccinated around the world. Thank you so much.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Léonard Saint-Michel.
Mr. Speaker, over the holidays, Omicron has had a serious impact on constituents and businesses in my riding of St. Leonard Saint-Michel. Thankfully, the House had passed Bill C2 before we rose, ensuring that we had support for businesses and individuals still facing restrictions and lockdowns put in place by provinces in response to the new wave. Can the Deputy Prime Minister remind this House of some of the measures in the bill and how they have been supporting Canadians?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
I would like to thank the Honourable Member for her question and for her hard work for her constituents. So, thanks to Bill C2, we now have the Canada Worker Lockdown Benefit. This ensures that workers affected by new public health restrictions are receiving immediate financial support. And we have the local lockdown program, which provides businesses faced with Omicron lockdowns imposed by local jurisdictions with wage and rent subsidy support. Unfortunately, both the Conservatives and the NDP voted against these essential support measures. But I am glad we were able to put them in place to support Canadians.
Honourable member for Abbotsford.
Well, lithium is critical in the production of electric vehicles. Last week, we learned that the minister fast-tracked the sale of a Canadian lithium company to a state-owned enterprise from China without conducting a full national security review. Yet for 3 long years, the same minister has refused to say no to Huawei building Canada's 5G network. Why is it so easy for him to say yes to risky takeovers of Canadian companies, yet so hard for him to say no to dubious foreign takeovers?
The Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for the question. Mr. Speaker, let's bring a bit of facts in this discussion, Mr. Speaker. Last week, I was clear to Canadians and to the committee. When it comes to the lithium transaction, Mr. Speaker, let's be clear to Canadians. This transaction was subject to a full national security review involving all the relevant departments of the government and all the intelligence and security agencies. And in addition, Mr. Speaker, it was subject to any scrutiny in accordance with the guidelines I've put in place in March. So we should not mislead this House, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to issues of national security.
Great answer.
Honourable member for Abbotsford.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the minister is not entitled to his own facts. He also refused to tell Canadians whether he consulted with our allies before making the hasty decision to allow Neolithium to be sold to China. We assume his answer is no. He didn't consult. Our American and other allies have banned Huawei from their 5G networks long ago, and yet can't understand why this Liberal government continues to dither and delay. Mr. Speaker, it's been 3 years. When will this minister stop appeasing the communist regime in Beijing and finally say no way to Huawei?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for the question. He knows how much I appreciate him. He's a great colleague. But I will say no to misleading, Mr. Speaker, Canadians when it comes to issue of national security. I'm very happy when he talks about our network because Canadians at home understand that this decision will have an impact not only on this generation but future generation. So a colleague like him would understand that national security must come first when we take a decision like that, and that's why we'll take the right decision for Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Abbotsford.
Mr. Speaker, Canada must say no to Huawei. The Washington Post recently reported how Huawei has developed voice and facial recognition technology that helps governments track and monitor political dissidents, manage re-education camps, and help retailers track shoppers. This is appalling. Yet while Canada's most trusted allies have banned Huawei from their networks, this government refuses to do so. So again, I ask the minister the question, when will he say no way to Huawei?
The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that we're taking the time today in this House to talk about our infrastructure network, Mr. Speaker, because Canadians at home understand how important it will be for them and for the future. We know we're going to the data economy. We know what communication and networks will be important. That's why, Mr. Speaker, that Canadians, those who are watching at home, I know they're watching today, understand that when you take a decision like that, you need to make national security come first. That's exactly what we're going to do and take the best decision in the interest of all Canadians.
Oh, excellent.
Member for Abbotsford.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, we're going to the data economy, but not with China. Our own intelligence agencies have long warned this Prime Minister about allowing Huawei into our 5G networks. Turns out they were right. For years, Huawei denied that it was a tool of the communist regime in Beijing. And now we have evidence that the company is deeply implicated in designing surveillance tools to keep track of millions, if not billions of people all around the world. So when will the minister make a decision on Huawei? And when will he finally say no way to Huawei?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for his question. One thing is clear, Mr. Speaker, is that a little bit of facts in this House sometimes helps for the understanding. One thing I can say, Mr. Speaker.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt the Honourable Minister. I'm trying to hear his answer, and I'm having a hard time. I'll let the Honourable Minister continue now. Please.
Speaker, I was about to say we're not going to take lessons from the Conservative when it comes to national security, and I'll tell you why, Mr. Speaker. We review 4 times more transaction and plus twice as many transactions as the Conservative did when they were in government. Yeah. Canadians know that we care when it comes to national security. We'll take no compromise when it comes to national security, and we'll take the best decision in the interest of all Canadians.
Yes. L'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I've been listening to the debates in the House this week, and I'm wondering if I'm not delusional. While Omicron is overflowing our hospitals in Quebec, our healthcare workers are exhausted, 3 people have died from COVID, and no one's talking about healthcare funding. No one is talking about the urgency of strengthening our healthcare system, even though we know that it's been the obvious thing to do since the beginning of the 5th wave. What will it take for the federal government to finally understand we need to increase health transfers? The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you very much. My colleague is absolutely right. We have to take action as well and not just talk about it. That's what we've done since the beginning with investments of $63 million in health and safety so we could take care of COVID measures, in addition to healthcare transfers, which will also increase in coming weeks. We have to protect our healthcare system so we can protect people who are trying to get through COVID-19. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. There is an elephant in the room, Mr. Speaker. The federal government has never taken action. 90% of Quebecers are vaccinated, but since Christmas, they're still in a lockdown. Why? Because the healthcare system is fragile. You have never wanted to increase payments to 35%. What will it take for the government to understand that if we want to get out of this crisis, we have to fund health? Underfunding rhymes with lockdowns in Quebec. What will this take? What will it take to make the government understand this? I'd like to congratulate my colleague for saying the key word, because the enemy is not vaccination, it is COVID-19. And Canadians and all members of this House must know and understand that to get through this crisis, they have to get vaccinated. 2 doses are good, 3 doses even better. And it's very important so we can fight Omicron and to protect ourselves from all the other variants that could arise in the future.
Mr. Speaker, we've heard it over and over again here in this House. Canadian salaries are simply not keeping up with inflation, making it harder to put food on the table and a roof over their heads. Never mind the EI premiums increasing to cover the current account deficit. My colleagues have asked before, again and again, and I will ask again, what is the government going to do to address the inflation crisis so that Canadians stop falling behind?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are smart, and that is why I know that Canadians, unlike the Conservatives, understand that inflation is a global phenomenon. And let me give you some numbers to back that up. The latest inflation number in Canada was 4.8%. In the U.S., it was 7%. In Germany, 5.3%. In the UK, 5.4%. Our inflation is lower than the G7 average of 5.3%, the G20 average of 5.8%, and the OECD average of 5.8%, Mr. Speaker.
Bravo. The Honourable Member for South Shore, St. Margaret's.
Mr. Speaker, the percentage increases that Canadians care about are the percentage increases in their property assessments and their housing prices. The policies of this government have meant that young people can't buy their first home. Older people, seniors, are getting priced out of their home. People are having trouble paying for food. When will this government come to realize that Canadians are struggling because of your policies? Admit that you're wrong, or is this just inflation?
The Honourable Minister of Housing.
This is a party that had abandoned housing investments. They had downloaded investments in affordable housing to provinces and municipalities. They had not mentioned affordable housing in their platform and in their opposition House motion. They have absolutely no credibility on this issue. We are the party that introduced the National Housing Strategy. We've introduced the first-time home buyer incentive. We want to move ahead with a rent-to-own program. They have absolutely no credibility on this issue, and Canadians can see through that rhetoric, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Kootenay, Columbia.
Mr. Speaker, the cost of living is getting worse by the day. Inflation has reached a 30-year high, grocery store shelves are empty, and Canadians are understandably tired of this government constantly moving the goalpost. They are struggling to make ends meet, and yet the Prime Minister decided this would be a good time to pick their pockets with a payroll tax. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister commit right now to cancelling his increase to EI and CPP payroll tax?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have been hearing over and over again today and many other days a false narrative from the Conservatives who seem absolutely determined to talk down Canada and the Canadian economy. The reality is Canadians have handled COVID and the COVID recession with remarkable strength and resilience. And thanks to that resilience, 108% of jobs have been recovered. Thanks to that resilience, we are now back in November. We exceeded pre-COVID GDP. This was the deepest economic low since the Great Depression, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Vancouver Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Black History Month is a time to reflect on the many contributions the Black community has made throughout history to shape Canada into the nation we are today. We must empower Black voices and Black experiences to face the challenges that prevent them from contributing fully to a diverse, prosperous, and inclusive Canada. And this means taking action against systemic discrimination and anti-Black racism. Can the Minister of Women, Gender Equality and Youth update the House on the actions our government has taken to empower the Black community?
Speak.
The Honourable Minister.
I thank the honourable member for her question and her presence as the longest-serving female parliamentarian in the House. Mr. Speaker, this month we take the time to honour and to celebrate the Black community, and as a government continually work to remove systemic barriers for a more and equal society for everyone. Whether that's through our commitment to Canada's anti-racism strategy, $200 million to establish the new Black-led philanthropic endowment fund, or the $100 million top-up to the Supporting Black Canadian Committee initiative. No matter the month, Mr. Speaker, every day is a day to celebrate Black excellence.
The honourable member for Charleswood St. James, Assiniboia, Headingley.
Over the past several months, Russia has amassed thousands of troops and conducted provocative military activities close to the Ukraine's border. As the international community continues to call on President Putin to de-escalate the situation, Canada must be crystal clear as to what specific action it will take to deter an invasion. And so this is a very important question, Mr. Speaker. Can the Prime Minister confirm right now that if Ukraine is invaded, he will use all tools at his disposal, including Magnitsky sanctions?
The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to my colleague for this very important question, because on sanctions, we're really ready to impose severe economic sanctions should Russia further invade Ukraine. We're working closely with our allies, along with the US, with the EU, and of course with the UK. And sanctions are most effective when we all act in lockstep, and Canada is ready. Thank you so much.
The honourable member for Yellowhead.
Mr. Speaker, according to Canada's 2022 price report index, the overall food price increase is from 5 to 7%, is the highest predicted increase in food prices in the last 20 years. This is becoming a concern for many constituents in my riding. The price of food in Alberta is expected to be higher than the national average in 2022. Mr. Speaker, when will this Liberal government finally admit that their policies have directly affected the 2-decade high inflation rate?
Awesome.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I have already pointed out, and as Canadians understand very well, Inflation is a global phenomenon driven by global challenges like congested supply chains, like the fact that there have been very significant crop challenges around the world. But I do want to say, Mr. Speaker, there are concrete things we can do to make life more affordable for Canadians, like building affordable housing, like early learning and childcare. And that's why I'm so astonished that the Conservative Party opposed our early learning and childcare plan, which the province of Alberta has now done a deal with us on.
The honourable member for Sewers Moose Mountain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Seniors from across my riding have been expressing their worries about this government's disregard for their skyrocketing cost of living. With inflation being higher than ever before, those who live on fixed incomes through programs like CPP or Old Age Security, many with no pensions, are finding it hard to make ends meet, and the Liberal carbon tax only makes things worse. In these stressful economic times, why does the Prime Minister insist on taking money from Canadians and seniors who are already struggling to pay their bills?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I find it rather rich for the Conservatives to bring up seniors working past the age of retirement because they raised retirement age when they were in power. Mr. Speaker, we reversed that and gave seniors back the benefits that they're entitled to. We're gradually enhancing the CPP, including what the employers pay in partnership with provinces and territories, so that seniors now and into the future can have a strong, stable retirement. Mr. Speaker, seniors know who has and will be there for them, and I can tell you it's not the Conservatives.
The honourable member for Alfred Pellon. Mr. Speaker, over the past 2 weeks, we've seen a lot of progress in the fight against COVID-19 as Canadians continue to receive their third dose of this vaccine. However, we're starting to see delays in scheduling of boosters. Could the Minister of Health please update the House on the progress with respect to booster doses and what additional steps the government is taking to ensure that all Canadians have access to a third dose? The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you very much, and thank you to my colleague for his excellent work on this file and for stressing vaccination. Roughly 84% of Canadians have received a first dose, and 43% of Canadians who are eligible have received a booster dose, a third dose. So we can be proud of this, Mr. Speaker. We are amongst the best vaccinated countries in the world, and many Canadians have made the right choice. The Honourable Member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, delays in immigration file processing have been increasing. Workers and students have to put their life projects on hold because too often they even have to make a second request. And once again, see further delays because the government took too long processing their files. The system is broken. It's not respecting people. Will the Liberals invest on what has to be done so that these people can start living again with respect and dignity? The Honourable Minister.
Thank my honourable colleague for the question, and I'm pleased to share that yesterday, in order to respond to the very serious pressures the pandemic has put on our immigration system, I announced there would be an $85 million investment to improve processing times for work permits, study permits, temporary residence visas, proof of citizenship, and to eliminate the inventory of PR cards. At the same time, we made further announcements about new functionalities of the digital platform that we're going to be introducing that will allow more people to get information about their files in real time and improve efficiencies across 15 different lines of business by this summer. There's no question this has been a challenging year for those seeking to come to Canada, but we're working to make life easier so they can call Canada home.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
After this government abandoned people who risked their lives to help us, millions of Afghans, including children, are on the brink of starvation. We learned yesterday that Canadian organizations like World Vision Canada are unable to deliver food and aid to children suffering from malnutrition. They can't help for fear of prosecution from Canada's anti-terrorism laws. The US and the EU have made sure their humanitarian aid partners won't be prosecuted, but the Liberal government has not. How many more Afghan children will have to die of starvation before an exemption is provided to Canadian organizations who want to help.
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are deeply concerned about the humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan, and we will be there to support the people of Afghanistan and not the Taliban. That's why I recently announced that Canada would provide $56 million in humanitarian funding in response to the appeals from the United Nations and the International Red Cross. This funding will allow Canada's humanitarian partners to provide life-saving assistance to ensure that humanitarian goods are dispatched and that workers can continue to be able to support the Afghan people. And we will look to do more with our partners. Thank you.
And I'm afraid that's all the time we have for question period today. I just want to say thank you to all of you. You were very, I'm going to say civil. It was very nice to hear everyone actually having a debate today. We have a number of questions points of order coming up, so I'll go through them one at a time. We'll start off with the Honourable Member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, there have been discussions, and I think that you will find unanimous consent for the following motion. That the House, A, recognize the one-year anniversary of the military coup in Myanmar and that took place as a new session of Parliament was set to open. B, take note of the impact of the deteriorating political and humanitarian situation on the most vulnerable. C, condemn the oppression of the population through forced disappearances, torture, arrests, killings, and intimidation. D, urge the government and the international community to increase pressure on the military to engage in inclusive political dialogue and to end the crisis. E, support the use of sanctions against members of Myanmar's military who disregard the human rights of the people of Myanmar. F, deplore the ongoing suffering of the Rohingya and other ethnic minorities. And G, stand in solidarity with those in Myanmar who aspire for peace, democratic governance, and the protection of human rights.
All those opposed to the Honourable Member moving the motion will please say nay. Agreed? The House has heard the terms of the motion. All those opposed to the motion will please say nay. Agreed. Carried. The next point of order is coming from the Honourable Member for Mount Royal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there have been consultations amongst the parties, and if you seek it, I believe you will find unanimous consent for the following motion. That the House deplores the use of Nazi and anti-Semitic symbols in demonstrations on Parliament Hill and denounces their use at all times.
All those opposed to the Honourable Minister or Member moving the motion will please say nay. Agreed. The House has heard the terms of the motion. All those opposed to the motion will please say nay. Carried. A point of order from the Honourable Member for Scarborough Centre.
Mr. Speaker, there have been discussions among the parties, and if you seek, I believe you will find unanimous consent for the following motion. That the House condemn the display of hateful and harmful Islamophobic rhetoric by protesters on the streets of Ottawa on the National Day of Remembrance of the Quebec City Mosque attack and action against Islamophobia, and urge all Canadians to join in putting an end to all hate.
All those opposed to the Honourable Member moving the motion will please say nay. Agreed? The House has heard the terms of the motion. All those opposed to the motion will please say nay. Carried. The Honourable Member for London West.
Mr. Speaker, there have been discussions amongst the parties, and if you seek it, I believe you'll find unanimous consent for the following motion. Que la Chambre considère que l'utilisation des drapeaux.
That the House consider that the display of racist flags in Ottawa this weekend as shameful and a testament to the divisive and hateful rhetoric of the protest, condemn these actions and continue to fight to eradicate anti-Black racism and all forms of hatred in Canada. That all those who are opposed of what is being proposed, please say no. Agreed? The House has heard the motion. That those who are opposed to the motion, please say no. Carried.
We'll now go to the honourable member for Don Valley West.
There have been discussions amongst the parties, and if you seek it, I hope you will find unanimous consent to adopt the following motion. That the House affirms that there is nothing peaceful about harassing residents of Ottawa for displaying pride flags in their homes and in their neighborhood. And secondly, agrees that harassment, transphobia, and all forms of homophobia this weekend that have been seen this weekend are an insult to truth and our democracy.
All those opposed to the honourable member moving the motion will please say nay. Agreed. The House has heard the terms of the motion. All those opposed to the motion will please say nay. Carried. The honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm rising on a point of order that relates to Standing Orders 16 and 18. I rise on this occasion because I think perhaps the noise levels in the House and what we experience for those of us participating virtually must be different. I noted you thank participants in the House today for keeping things respectful, but I couldn't hear the Deputy Prime Minister when she was trying to answer questions for the heckling in the background. I note that I remember sitting with her when she won a by-election in Toronto Centre back in 2013, and it seemed to me even then that Conservatives particularly heckled her more than others. I found that the case today, and I couldn't hear her properly. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I want to thank the honourable member for that point of order. And I do want to remind all the members that we do have people watching around from around the country trying to see what's going on in Parliament. So in all fairness to them, I know even though it is in the chamber that we want people to hear us, we want to make sure that people are watching, hear the questions and the answers so that they understand why and what is being done here in Parliament. I want to thank all the members for their cooperation. Today was a very good day, but I just want to say there's always room for improvement. The honourable member for Peace River Westlock is rising on a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, if you seek it, I hope you will find unanimous consent for the following motion. That the House deplores the use of blackface and denounces its use at all times. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes. All those opposed to the honourable member moving the motion will please say nay. No. Okay, we don't have unanimous consent. The honourable member for Winnipeg North is rising on a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, from our perspective, we don't have a problem, and I think the member was reflecting on wanting to say no because we didn't give any advance notice. Had we known about it, there's no one on this side that would have said no to it.
Point of order.
Order. The honourable member for Kingston and the Islands.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, when somebody rises and says, Mr. Speaker, there have been discussions amongst the parties, and I believe you seek it, that implies that discussions have actually happened. Discussions had not happened, and what we're seeing here is a blatant attempt to try to throw people off and to catch them off guard. I didn't even get to hear, Mr. Speaker, if I may conclude, I did not even get to...
Order. The honourable member can continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I didn't even get to hear the entire motion because of the fact that... Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for... Okay, the honourable member for Leeds... I'm sorry, I always mess that one up.
Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands.
And Rideau Lakes, yes. Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
Well, thanks very much, Speaker. The member for Peace River Westlock, I think if you consult with Hansard, you'll verify that in his intervention, he expressed a hope. He said, Mr. Speaker, I hope you will find unanimous consent for the following. The member for Kingston and the Islands said that the member for Peace River Westlock had said that there had been consultations. All the member for Peace River Westlock had asked for was the consideration of the House to condemn the wearing of blackface, and the member of Kingston and the Islands denied that and voted against that condemnation.
I'm afraid there was no vote, and the honourable member from Peace River Westlock did say he was in the HoC. That's what I heard. We can check the Blues and see where that was, just to make sure. The honourable member for Kingston and the Islands is rising.
Mr. Speaker, the member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes actually has misrepresented what happened. What I voted against, Mr. Speaker, was entertaining a motion. It was not against a subject. We had not even introduced it. But nonetheless, Mr. Speaker, I think it's important to point out that even if the terminology of "I hope you will find unanimous consent," all by tradition of this House, implies that discussions have happened amongst the party leadership, and they had not.
Have to be a question about it.
I just want to remind all members that normally, for unanimous consent, out of courtesy, you check with the other parties, but that's just a tradition that we've adopted and we've been using. It's not necessarily something that has to happen, but in any case, let's just call this one a day. It was turned down, and we'll continue from here. Thank you. Okay. Orders of the day.
Ordre du jour. Resume orders of the day. Applied to the speech from the throne.
Put your mask on.
Oh, well, what? I can't hear you.
Put your mask on.
The honourable member for St. Catharines and the honourable member for Pembroke, Nipissing, Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke. If you want to have a conversation, I encourage you to go into the hallway and have it there, but not across the hall. We like to have people be able to hear what's going on. Now, we'll resume debate. The honourable member for Scarborough-Gilwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm grateful for so many colleagues to remain behind in order to hear my great thoughts on the speech from the throne. It's very, very kind of them. I appreciate that. I do take note that if you were heading for the exit,